Hello, Internet. I'm very excited, and thanks for joining us. It's live stream. It's a Friday morning at 8 a.m. Eastern Standard, and we are ready to roll. So, any questions that you might have, go ahead and post them in the chat. Let me go ahead and get this disclaimer up here, saying that you should definitely double check everything it is that I say. And then let's see here. Post questions in the chat. There we go. That's all that we really need to do. Let's see here. Yesterday, we listed two properties for rent. So we finished two of the projects that were open. That feels good. Let's see here. That leaves us with about 15 properties that are currently vacant, which is tough. That's about right around $14,000 per month that we're losing on those vacancies. And that's between just rehab projects and normal turns. So that's what I have been focused on for the better half of all week. And then just trying to figure out how to bring the actual business in a little bit tighter. So we've identified a lot of metrics that we want to keep a close eye on. And, it's one of those things. We just are striving to get better. So looking forward to answering some questions for you all. Well, there's one person on here, so we might have to wait a little bit for questions. Let me see if I can log in. Make it at least two people. And also pin this PropStream invite. Because if you're not familiar, you can get a 7-day free trial using PropStream. I actually got a really awesome email from PropStream yesterday that they are about to roll out a new feature for pre-probate. So I'm guessing what this feature is going to do is if it picks up that somebody is recently deceased, it's going to make a new category for those individuals so that you could start attempting to contact, I guess, the new owners, the heirs of the estate, which I think is pretty cool because honestly, I think that's one of the ways that we get the best deals are people that inherit properties that they just aren't really interested in holding and really want nothing to do with it. A lot of times it's, where the family has lived for quite some time and it's got a lot of deferred maintenance on it in this area. I don't know about all areas. You think PropStream is worth the price? Absolutely. I use it regularly. And I'm also excited about this pre-probate feature that I was just speaking of. So I'm really looking forward. They said that they would send out some more information on it shortly. As far as PropStream goes, one of the main ways that I use it, which I get wouldn't necessarily be beneficial to most, but that is that I run my own comps with it. And that really just helps me make sure that I'm I actually know what I'm talking about. So we recently purchased a package of 20 properties or 20 doors. I think it was across 18 properties. There's one 3-unit in there. And I ran comps for the entire package via PropStream. And I was less than 0.5% off from what the official appraisals came back at. So that was really cool. So that really allowed me to accurately predict how much equity we would have from the beginning, which then, allowed me to be in a little bit better of like a leveraging position. So not only do I not have to bug realtors for comps by utilizing PropStream, but I'm also able to kind of dial in the comp reports to what I think they would, come back at. And this past time, I was pretty close. Let's see. Good question, though. Let's see. Yeah, I think that's a great question. And it's definitely worth the price for the first 7 days because I'm also a funny person. All right, we are now up to 8 people, which is a fantastic start. That makes me really excited. I was in a couple of college classes with less than 8 people in there. So we are officially classroom sized, and I'm really looking forward to answering some questions. What do you think about online auctions? I think that's a good question as well. Online auctions, I haven't really done one yet personally. I have tried on multiple occasions to register with auction.com, but for some reason, all the properties that I'm interested in do not go live the day that they're supposed to via auction.com. So I have yet to do any real auctions. I bid on some other properties via a website called Hubzu, Hubzu, Hubzu. I even tried to buy 2 different homes for my wife and I to live in off that place. And, you know, one of the things that really frustrates me about auctions is like the reserve bid. So Hubzu, I can't remember exactly the circumstances, but Hubzu made it to where it wasn't exactly very forthright about the reserve price. So even though I won the auction, the reserve wasn't met. So I didn't get the property. And that happens, you know, because Hubzu is one where if the reserve isn't met, it would go back on the market the following week. So the auction would just like immediately restart if the reserve wasn't met. And I remember winning that auction like 5 or 6 times and never got the property. And I tried to make contact with both Hubzu and I think it was Deutsche Bank that was actually the owner of the property. I tried to make contact with both of them, be like, look, just tell me what you want for this house and I will buy it. And they never did that. And I couldn't, you know, I'm not going to arbitrarily bid higher on that. So I don't have the best of track records with online auctions. What's the difference between short sale and foreclosures? So short sale is, I just bought a house via a short sale. So I've got a vague kind of abstract definition of it. And a short sale is when somebody owns a property and they can't make their payments, but rather than doing the foreclosure, the bank is willing to take a lesser price to get just paid off of that property. So generally, the short sale, the bank will hire a realtor. That realtor will sell the property, but they have to find a buyer that's willing to pay whatever the appraisal comes back for. So you agree to buy the property, purchase price is pretty unknown. The bank is going to do an appraisal on that property. And then whatever the appraisal price, which is going to be an as-is price, whatever that comes back to is what the bank is going to ask for. In our case, I want to say the appraisal came back at like 45,000 and we bought it for 40 grand. Now there is some deferred maintenance on it, but it's occupied as well. And then the foreclosure is when it actually, the bank goes through the foreclosure process. So I think in a nutshell, a kind of decent explanation of it would be that a short sale is a bank's effort at settling this without going through the entire legal process. So on the short sale that I did, even though I was speaking with the bank, not the actual like current owner, when we closed on the property, the current owner had to show up and sign all of their paperwork. So the ball's definitely in the bank's court. And I think short sale is kind of misleading because generally people say like, oh, short sale must be pretty fast for whatever reason. I guess somewhere in the name, it would lead you to believe that be the case. And that is not the case. There's nothing short about a short sale. I think it took us 3 months from start to finish to close that out. Good question. Hey, man, it was awesome. It was a mastermind event. It was really good. So every Tuesday, I meet with a group of about 10 guys, and we get in person twice a year. And that group is part of a larger group that's got like 110, 120 people in it, somewhere around there. So It's a pretty intimate time. You dive deep into any sort of issues that you're having on a personal or professional level. And it's really just awesome having a bunch of guys willing to pour into your life and invest in you to help you be a better person, which is kind of what I'm doing on a small scale with the Seek Wisdom Mastermind that we started. And that's doing pretty good. So my intentions from starting that was, it's important for me that over the next 3 years or so, I help 10 people buy 10 different properties. Let's see if I can put that ticker on here for a little bit. Yeah, so seek-wisdom.com/join. That's the mastermind group that I started. It's for guys looking to be a better person, invest in some real estate. There's some guys in there that have around 100 doors, not myself, but just some other guys. And then there are other people that are just starting. There's some other people that are just private investors, and then also some others that have no interest in really investing in real estate anytime soon. So it's a phenomenal community, and I'm really proud of all the guys in that group. So it's definitely going to be, when I look back on life, it's going to be one of the things that I'm most proud of. So if that is of any interest to you, then go to that little website and check it out. In the meantime, let's get back to this disclaimer about how little I know. Oh, I think you probably got that. Any key takeaways? That's a good question. Let me think about that for a second. Yeah, I'm going to come back to that. That's a good question. I'll be thinking through this as we talk about some real estate. Let's see, what other questions? This is me. That's the 7-day free trial to PropStream. I've pinned that up at the top for your convenience. Man, I'm accidentally selling you guys this morning. Join the mastermind group. Sign up for PropStream. You guys do whatever you want to do. Online auctions, answered that. Short sales and foreclosures. Foreclosures are fun. Foreclosures, it's kind of like getting a mystery bag. You don't really know what you're in for. So now the house is leaking. Yeah, I mean, real estate's tough. I think this is the hardest part, and I think this is the part of real estate that I dislike the most when I'm encouraging people to get involved in investing in real estate, is that your first couple of properties, anything that could possibly go wrong with these properties, I'm not going to say it does, but you feel every single expense. So when my brother and I were just getting started, the first, 8-9 properties that we had, at the end of every month, we had an extraordinarily painful conversation where we had to figure out how much money both of us needed to come out of pocket to float the business along for just so we could, live to die another day. Just let's keep this business alive for just one more month. So for the first 8 or 9 properties, I would say probably for the first year, we really had to put a lot of money into it. And, if a roof started leaking, then we had to pay for the repairs ourselves. The cash flow wasn't strong enough to cover all the expenses plus all the capital expenditures. So it's definitely a precarious position for quite some time until you reach the, law of averages or the law of large numbers, whatever it is that you want to call it. So one of the things that I like to encourage people on is to just make the goal of, if real estate is something that you are interested in long term, go ahead and commit to yourself to get to 10 properties absolutely as quickly as possible. Now, 10 properties is life-changing for a lot of reasons, but the main one being that 10 properties is the mark that when we hit it, we realize that all of the capital expenditures, all of the maintenance and repair items that could possibly happen to those properties could be floated by the monthly cash flow of the properties. So plumbing leaks, water heaters, drywall repair, roof leaks. Water is something else, isn't it? As I'm saying all these things, they're almost all water related. I guess that makes sense because water is one of those things that really isn't covered by insurance. Most other things are. I guess, anyway, I don't want to think about water for too long. But yeah, the law of averages, the law of large numbers. If this is your first time hearing me talk about this, then, when I say law of averages, law of large numbers, is one of the analogies that I like to use the most is like, let's talk about insurance. We're all familiar with insurance, especially car insurance. If an insurance company only provided insurance for one vehicle, it would be absolutely impossible for that insurance company to charge enough or collect enough premium from that car owner to cover all of the things that could potentially go wrong with that car. So, even if it were like $1,000 per month, how many months would you have to collect it if it's a new vehicle, if that person goes out and totals his car and another vehicle, right? That would be a lot. However, if you write the insurance on 1,000 or 2,000 vehicles, then you start playing off the law of averages, law of large numbers. Every month, not all 1,000 or 2,000 vehicles are going to get involved in a car crash. They're not going to have any sort of issues at all, but you're going to collect the premium still for all of them. So now that one car or those 5 cars that mess up that month are getting a wreck, the premiums collected from the total 1,000 or 2,000 are sufficient to cover that one. So we have experienced that same thing inside of our own real estate portfolio. So now, since we have crossed that 10 threshold, we haven't put any of our own capital, or we haven't had to come out of pocket for any of the expenses. The portfolio takes care of it. Would you sell a house after you renovated it? No, I would not. I think this is a good question, and the math just doesn't work. So I would say if you've got your 30 to 40 year goggles on, the only reason to sell a property would be to raise capital. So if capital is an issue, if you need to increase the amount of money that you have on hand, then perhaps selling a property, what my brother likes to call a liquidity event, that might be a good idea. However, if you don't necessarily need capital at the moment, then I would say refinancing and cashing out 75% of the equity that you have in the property would be a better long-term option, because when you sell a property, that is also going to trigger a tax event. Whereas if you refinance a property, then it's not a taxable event. So I would say each time that we have done the math from a long-term perspective, it always makes sense to hold the property rather than to sell it, especially if you're thinking about owning it for long-term, because you're not going to have to pay the capital gains tax at the event of a refinance just because you're restructuring it. You're not actually, generating income, but you're able to get cash on hand. So if you do a cash out refinance of the property, let's just say for easy numbers, you bought a house for 50 grand, you put 20 grand into it. So now you're all in at 70,000. And let's say that you could sell the house for 100,000. Well, if you sold the property, then yes, you would get $30,000 minus the fees or whatever. And you might come out with, let's just say it's, 10%. So you come out with 20 grand. Well, that's great, but then you also have to pay taxes on that. So I don't know how much the taxes would be. That's largely up to your personal situation. However, if you refinance it and do, 75% loan to value, then you're going to get $5,000 in your pocket, and you're going to be able to hold on to that asset, collect that monthly cash flow. You're going to get the benefit of the appreciation, the principal pay down, and all the tax benefits that are associated with property ownership. So it's 5,000 compared to 20 or less, but at the same time, you still have the asset and you're still making money on the back end. That's just how we do it. That's how we think about it. So now we're up to 14 people as I glance down. So thank you all for being on here. Don't be shy. A+ sure isn't being shy. Tolu, good morning. Thank you. I'm happy that you're on here. What properties do you automatically write off? That's a CPA question. I know that we you know, we definitely enjoy our depreciation, but I don't think I quite understand this question. When USDA says 100% finance, why they also say need closing or appraisal fee? Well, the purchase price is different than the fees associated with it. So you're still going to have fees like the appraisal fee. That's not money that the bank collects. That's going to be going to the appraiser. The closing fee, I'm not quite sure what that is, but that's likely the commission for the person that is putting the loan together. So the loan officers, by and large, unless you go to like a small, a small credit union, they probably work on commission and they have to get paid to make these loans. So while the USDA would likely put in 100% of the purchase price so that you don't have to come up with a down payment, putting that loan together and paying for all of the people's time to help you put that together, they still cost money. So if the house appraises for enough, sometimes the lender will kind of wrap in the closing costs if there's room there. But if it's 100% financing, you need to be getting a really good deal on the front end in order to leave room for the closing costs and whatnot. And I mean, I don't know about the appraisal. Generally, I guess you could get reimbursed for that at closing. But you might also just be able to negotiate the seller paying those things, especially if it's your personal residence. We do. Not much, like $1,500 a month. Well, that's where I'm at. I know it's going to hurt, but I got to stay in the game. Yeah, I would say so. I mean, when you're first starting, it's kind of like, real estate investing and getting started in it is no different than creating your own business and kind of, trying to get it going from the ground up. Business expenses are serious, and sometimes it takes businesses a pretty long time to be profitable. And over like the 30 years of owning a real estate asset, you kind of have to be pretty negligent in order to not make money over the long term. But in the short term, it's all about staying alive. It is all about doing anything inside of your power to live to fight another day. So at the beginning, it's all about being scrappy and being extraordinarily entrepreneurial. All right, A+. We've got 18 people on here, and you're asking some awesome questions. So thanks for this. What's your opinion on doing tile and older rentals? Also, do you have a defined spec sheet? I do not have a defined spec sheet. We are about to hire a project manager, and I've talked to a lot of my mentors about this, and this is an area that we could most certainly tighten up in. That I'm not necessarily. This is not one of my strong suits, overseeing the construction. I wish that we had like a line item and that we were a lot more thorough and detailed in our scopes of work. I think that would make it, I think just having that data on hand would be good. Generally, what I do when I'm walking through homes, assessing what needs to be done, is I'll say, yep, it needs a new kitchen. It needs a new bathroom. Let's do that. I don't put much thought into and I have never counted the number of outlets to see how many we need. All the things that the general contractors would do right before they go to Home Depot to figure out what they need for a job. I've never done that. I think it would be good. I think it would be very organized, and I think that would allow us to, start benefiting, picking out the items that we use most, buying those in bulk. And I think now that we're to the scale that we are, I think there are some phenomenal ways that we could lower costs. However, we have made no real efforts in doing those things yet, but I'm looking forward to diving deep into that. Tile in older rentals, I don't mind it. I don't mind it at all. I don't necessarily. So there are some bathrooms where, just because of how old these houses are, you can't necessarily get the same size tub or a surround to fit it anymore, and we will often do tile there. I have not yet put tile down as a floor covering, only because the vinyl planks have recently become a thing, and I think they're probably pretty solid. We've had some pretty serious water spills, and all we had to do was dry out those vinyl tiles and put them right back down. So that was pretty cool. We've never made the effort to install tile anywhere other than like the bathroom and those like the surround area. It looks nice in those areas where we did it, but I'm not so sure of the longevity. Anytime we have the ability to, I'm definitely a fan of like the 1 to 3 piece surrounds, just for longevity and cleanliness sake. Grout can get tough if it's not treated too well. Do you have any intention on bringing on someone for full-time property management? Hey, I just kind of sort of answered that question. Yeah, we're looking at a project manager. I wouldn't call him property management, but definitely somebody to oversee kind of the construction or open rehab projects, orchestrate the turns, and even do some like small maintenance requests, because, you know, we do get, because our current model, we just subcontract everything. It is a little bit strange. Like some of the work orders that we get in are like very small and would only take like 2 to 5 minutes to actually do. But for whatever reason, I'm not able to get out there or do it myself. And that's also not very scalable for me to pick up all of those smaller maintenance items. So that is kind of the loose job description. I've got like a job description actually typed out that we're going to start looking to hire someone in. And that's going to be sooner than later, because, you know, like we do our best not to have more than 10 open rehab projects going on at one time. But right now, I think we were up to 17, and that's a little bit scary. I don't like that. How do you deal with difficult tenants? That's a good question. I would say, gracefully, but strictly. I don't know. So I haven't been doing this for too long, but I've noticed a trend about like once somebody is difficult, they're kind of always difficult. I don't think I have seen somebody turn around their situation yet. So I think I'm about to sneeze. I really don't want to. I think I was able to think it away. Cool. Yep, we're good to go again. Lost my train of thought, overwhelmed by the desire to not sneeze. Okay, one of my favorite quotes is, to be unclear is to be unkind. So when it comes to difficult tenants, I do my very best to just treat it like a kind of very black or white, like, hey, this has to happen. And I mean, you know, with difficult tenants, the more concessions that you make, the more murky or unclear that relationship gets. And if you allow them to be late by 20 days without any late fee or whatever, then that's going to all of a sudden become the norm. So, you know, I've found here recently, we've made a push, as we've hired on a little bit of help, we've made a push to become more strict and hold people more accountable. And that has really cleared up a lot of things. So I think when it comes to difficult tenants or just relationships in general, to be unclear is to be unkind. And that's the way I kind of think about it. Hey, Jan Fowler, I appreciate you being on here. Studio's looking sharp. Hey, Scott Allen Turner. If you guys don't know this fella, please check him out. He is the man. Really solid financial advisor and CFP. And he has some rental properties, so he's not 100% stock world. Really awesome guy. As a flip or rehab property, how can you determine the property value to raise the value with upgrades for resale or cash flow? So I use PropStream for this, which that 7-day free trial is pinned up to the top. And, you know, running comps, figuring out so single families are really easy. There's really not that much ambiguity unless you're not in a very hot market where there's not a lot of comps to pull from. But when it comes to single family, 1 to 4 unit properties, if you can find properties that have recently sold that are in similar condition to the repairs that you plan on making, then you have a pretty good idea as to what your property could sell for. If you are, and this kind of, you know, keeps you accountable for not over improving an area. So if you look far and wide and cannot find comps in your area of properties that are in similar condition, like if you plan on putting in granite countertops, one of those fancy appliances, and all of the fancy things that you think you might desire in a home, and then you look around and you can't find any kitchens that look similar to what you're planning on putting in there, then I wouldn't put that stuff in there because it is likely unnecessary. No, this is a massive pet peeve of mine. I can't stand it. And whenever I see it in a property, it makes my soul hurt. Please, under no circumstances, ever paint hardwood floors, especially not with that like textured deck paint. For like every time, we see that, the only real options that you have available to you are either putting carpet over it or putting the vinyl planks right back over it. There's no bringing it back. That's in a manner that's not like extraordinarily labor intensive and costly. Super sad. Yeah, I hate most floor coverings with a passion. Good morning. With your current vacancies, do you focus more of your team on listings, showings? No. Thank you for thinking that I have a large team. So all the properties are vacant for a specific reason. Either it's, on the construction side, properties really don't stay on the market for that long. So our vacancies, we don't really have any that are rent ready that just haven't been rented out yet. So a lot of them they've got their own little punch list that we're working through, and it's just a matter of time before the punch list is complete. So I think when it comes to vacancies, almost all the effort should be put on, actually knocking out the punch list, making the rehabs and anything else that you need to do in order to make it livable. And then once it's livable, sure, listing it is easy when utilizing Appfolio. And I think most of the property management software now has integrated with all of the real estate listing websites. So listing a property available for rent is very easy in Appfolio. I think they push it out to about 40 or 50 different websites that are designed to help people find places to rent. So it's all a construction problem until it's not. And in this market, we haven't had any issues renting properties out. So that's kind of been the easy part. Yeah, good question. Why you don't like mobile homes? I don't remember ever saying I don't like mobile homes. I don't have any. And it's largely because this area, there aren't many. I invest almost strictly inside the city limits of Dayton, and I do not know of any trailer parks inside the city limits of Dayton, or even any mobile homes. I think if I were to invest in another market, that might be more common, but I don't, and they're just not here. I think mobile home parks are really like a rural area type deal. And I just don't have any. How has the increased price of lumber affected your business? Not at all. And I think the majority of that reason is because we remodel older homes. So a lot of our housing stock here inside the city limits of Dayton are all pretty old. So we have done a little bit of framing, but that framing, just uses a couple 2x4s. It's not like we are using a large amount of wood. Drywall, yes. Floor coverings, yes. Vanities, sinks, countertops, cabinets, yes. But as far as lumber goes, not really much at all. We're not a big consumer of it. I think it's raised roofing costs a little bit, but it's not every day that we replace roofs. We replace a lot of roofs, as I heard myself say that out loud. So if we have to do a tear off of a roof, it's got a couple layers of shingles, and then under it, there's no decking. Because back in the day when these homes were built, they just used 2x4s spaced out. So we have to cover the house in new OSB. That got more pricey by a couple grand. But I don't think we replace so many roofs that it has substantially changed our business model or the prices that we pay. How do you stay organized with that many properties? What does the system look like? A lot of spreadsheets. So we've got a vacancy spreadsheet where we, share it with the people that have a hand in it. And it also, just lets me know who the contractor assigned to that property is. And I do my best to get in there and take notes very regularly just to help stay on top of all of it. We use AppFolio for all of the maintenance requests. And then we have another spreadsheet that has all of our current holdings, so that our current holdings spreadsheet keeps track of potential properties that we are thinking about purchasing, the properties that we have under contract, and then also the properties that we currently own. So maintenance is handled via the property management software. Vacancies are tracked by me. I'm looking for a solution that has kind of like an AppFolio, but for contractors. Like if this vacancy spreadsheet, if I had the ability to have contractors upload pictures, upload notes to that. If you guys know of anything like that, I know that there's a few that are out there. IntelliSpecs is one of them. I would love to kind of find like an AppFolio, but for contractors. I think that would be really cool. That way, they could take pictures as they're requesting draws and whatnot, and just have that in one organized space. I think scaling the rental property aspect is a lot easier than the construction and rehab, scaling that side of the business. But again, I say this a lot, we don't want to ever have more than 10 properties under rehab at once. And we currently had about like 17 at one point. So yeah, it's tough to keep track of. Leon Finch, welcome. I have never seen your name on this live stream before. So thank you for being on here, and thank you for asking a question. What are your thoughts on subject to financing? How do you leverage creative financing in your business? I don't really do it. I did it a lot to start with. So I've never done a subject to deal. Blanket statements are never true, right? But I have a tough time thinking through like a win-win scenario for like a subject to deal. Generally, you can get a better deal if you just pay for it in cash. And I'm not necessarily saying my cash, but if you have, a network of private investors that you could just do, cash offers on and get the subject to person out of there, or like the current owner, just make them not a part of the equation anymore. I think creative financing is extraordinarily beneficial. I don't think we would not be where we are today if it weren't for creative financing. But you reach a certain point where creative financing probably isn't your go-to. Generally, seller financing is really good. There are some situations where seller financing is advantageous for the person that's selling, especially if they have like a complicated tax issue that they're trying to solve, or just don't quite feel like they're ready to pay taxes, but still want to collect the monthly cash flow. Then that would be solid. But as far as like right now, the most creative that we get is we borrow money from friends and family, secured by first position mortgages, and we pay them 10 or 12%. We package up several of those, and then we approach a traditional bank and refinance them as part of a commercial loan in a group together, and then pay off all the private investors and hope that we can do it again and again and again. So that's our model. As far as subject to, I haven't done it. I think that would be really difficult to scale, just because like the time, effort, and energy in walking somebody through what a subject to deal is. Because a lot of times if you're looking at doing subject to, and again, I could be wrong. I'm not an expert in this and I've never done it, but you are explaining something moderately complex to somebody that just is a property owner and in a bad financial position. So it's a lot of legwork. There's a lot of moving parts to make it happen. And then on subject to, especially, one of the reasons that I'm not too big of a fan of it is you have, taken the headache or the burden of this property away from them, but they still have all of the liability. So like if for whatever reason you stop paying the mortgage, it's still in their name. It's going to ding their credit pretty good. And in theory, you can kind of walk away from it kind of scotch-free. So I haven't done it. I know some people that have. I insure a few properties that have been purchased on subject to, but again, not an expert, never done it. Have a tough time seeing the win-win of the situation. And I'm sure it's out there, but if you can buy it in cash, then that's probably the better thing to do. What does your division of labor look like for you and your partner? Well, division or labor. I don't fully understand this question, man. If you are asking like what are the responsibilities and roles between my brother and I, then I'm more the, quote unquote boots on the ground operations. And he, like, just as feverishly as I look for properties and spend, time looking for contractors, checking up on contractors, my brother spends doing the financing portion of our business. So he's constantly looking for banks for us to work with, constantly looking for ways to restructure our existing debt to be advantageous for us. So it's a lot of work. We buy properties that have existing Section 8 people in them. We have yet to place any Section 8 people into our properties. And right now, there's not really a reason for that other than so far the properties that we list for rent are rented so quickly that it takes a long time for the Section 8 to put together the initial leasing paperwork. And generally, it's already rented out by the time that happens. So I don't have any experience in placing Section 8 tenants, but we do have some properties that are rented via Section 8 on those vouchers. And, that is not that difficult. It just comes down to the re-inspections on an annual basis and making all the repairs that they ask you to. Yeah. Yes. I think you should do it. I think you definitely should do it. So I think I answered your question then. Other than that, we use subcontractors, if that's what you're asking. So we have subcontractors that we hire to do the rehabs. They don't work for us. We don't have any in-house rehab people. And then, my brother, who's my partner, lives down in Jacksonville, Florida. So it definitely keeps us honest. It's not like if I get overwhelmed on the operations side, he can step in. And it's not like, so that I think geographically, we're kind of held accountable to not stepping on each other's toes as far as responsibilities. Awesome. And that was a lot of questions. It felt like we had a lot more. We've got 20 people on here. Thank you to each and every one of you on here. This is really exciting. This is definitely the highlight of my week. Well, one of the highlights of my week. Like professionally, YouTube speaking, it's the highlight of my week. My family, there's a lot of things that we do. Also on Fridays, that are the highlights of my week. Like tonight is pizza night and movie night or game night. Sometimes both. So board games and maybe some Paw Patrol and pizza. That'll happen tonight. I'm looking forward to that. All right, we are at the bottom of the comment section. If you guys have any questions that have been that you've been thinking through and you just really want to ask, go ahead. Thanks, Leon Finch. Tolu, you're pretty quiet today. What you got? Anything good? Janine Fowler, thank you for showing up. You've become pretty regular here. H. Oh man, I answered this question already. Oh, H, you asked another question too. You're just so low profile with that username. I didn't even see it. Awesome. Yeah, good question. I am actually going to do a couple of videos. I'm going to start now that we're making some progress on a bunch of things. When I was making daily videos, we just hit the 80 property mark, and we had a massive refinance in January of this year. And I've been real cricket like on the YouTube videos. So now I think we are not acquiring as much. So this past Friday, we closed on a property, and that was the only property that we had under contract. So like for the first time in 2.5 years, we had 0 properties under contract. But then somebody pointed out an awesome property to us, and we ended up purchasing it. So we have another property under contract. But things have slowed down on the acquisition side, which have freed up enough time for me to start committing to like daily videos again. So I'm really looking forward to getting on that train. I think a lot of really good questions have been posed that I would love to kind of dive in and make videos about. One of the videos that I need to make that's long overdue is how the Project Firehouse turned out. So that one is rented out now. And we actually bought a property right across the street from that house too. So I would like to do some deal flow videos again, just talking about deals. And then I would also like to make some videos about just like how we have structured the refinances, because a lot of people get really confused when they see these deals explained videos, and I'm paying interest only at like 10 and 12% on some of these deals. And let's see here. So that's like the starting place. I'd like to make some more prop stream videos, especially now that they're doing this pre-probate thing. I think that's really cool. Because again, I think houses that go into probate or are inherited by people, generally each time one of those comes across my desk, it's either word of mouth or like a proactive realtor. But I've never known how to like market for that. And it's kind of weird thinking about like marketing to deceased people. But if PropStream makes it very easy, and if they're able to kind of focus that in, then I think that's a really cool feature that I'm looking forward to taking advantage of and making some videos on, because that's where I found a lot of the properties that we've purchased with like the deepest of discounts. Let's see here. What questions should we be asking when interviewing for a new attorney? I'm interested in tax acquired properties and foreclosures. I have no idea. I don't work with an attorney for tax acquired properties or foreclosures. I'd be interested as like what you're looking to use that attorney for. Is it for evictions? Is it for, legal structure, which is one of my least favorite things to talk about? Is it for estate planning? I think you could use attorneys for so much. There's such a broad range, and being an attorney, there's all sorts of different practices and skills in that. Getting here late, but you're still welcome, Ian Clip. And just for the other 19 people on the call, Ian Clip is one of the first people that commented on my YouTube channel that I did not know. So I will always and forever remember your name, Ian Clip. How did the refi go the other week? I'm sure great. Yes. So we refinanced. I mean, that was in January that we did that, and it went really well. That was a cash out refinance across like 36 properties. That was really cool. And then we closed on a package of 20 properties, but that was not a refinance. That was just an outright purchase, and it went well as well. At closing, I missed 2 areas for my signature. So that held things up a little bit, but that was the only kind of hiccup. I just looked down at my screen. It is getting bright in here. I'm going to close these blinds, I think. That's a whole lot better. The sun, it's a strong thing. Yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah, man, I think PropStream is where it's at, and I'm only being a little bit biased because that affiliate link. How did you get in Jim Rohn? I listen to his books via Audible when I'm in my car. Spotify has a fun Jim Rohn station where they just kind of took some highlights of his speeches and put them over top, laid it over some music. That's pretty cool. I think it's Jim Rohn and Roy Smooth. That's a fun a Spotify station. And other than that, I watch some of his YouTube videos. I've got like the YouTube, I don't know what their membership program is, but where you can not have YouTube open on your phone and still hear it. I listen to a lot of Jim Rohn via YouTube that way. How I found Jim Rohn, I really don't know. I think it started with Dave Ramsey. And I think Dave Ramsey quoted Zig Ziglar. And I think I got into Zig Ziglar. And then I think Jim Rohn was somehow suggested to me because of all the Zig Ziglar I was listening to. I think that's how I remember it, but I'm not sure. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. We had a lot of fun. We were able to make contact with all the, current residents of those properties, notify them of the change. We've got a few work orders, out of 20 units that should be expected, and none of them were that terrible. One of them was termites. The other were mice. Generally, we will handle termites. We do not necessarily handle any small rodents in our lease unless there's something like a hole in one of the basements or the way that they're getting in is like a structural thing. If it's just because somebody is nasty and doesn't clean up after themselves, we put that on the resident. And then there are some roofs that we, flagged as needing to replace. So, we're doing that as well. So that's exciting. Other than that, it was pretty smooth. To buy so many properties at such an awesome discount, we really don't have that much outstanding maintenance that needs to be done. So it's pretty exciting. We bought 20 properties at $40,000 per unit. So we bought them for $800,000. And this is exciting. And this is one of the videos that I'll make as well about this, is because it appraised for $1.23 million. So that was a big win for us. Big win. Real big win. All right. We have reached the bottom of the comment section. We've been going for 1 hour. We've got 19 people here. A+. Another thing that I'm looking to do, as far as like what videos are coming up, another thing that I'm interested in doing, that I'm still playing around with this because I'm not so sure the climate is appropriate for it. But I stopped by some hotels that have larger conference centers here recently, and as things get a little bit better socially speaking, I would love to do some like in-person events, kind of like a live Q&A, maybe like a 2-day thing. First day, just tons of information and some presentations with some, impressive guest speakers, not myself, but some people that have built some really big portfolios. I've had a couple people say that if I ever wanted them to come speak at something, they would. And I think that would be a really good opportunity to introduce people to. And then maybe like a second day of just a bunch of live Q&A. I think that would be really cool because I love these live Q&As here on YouTube, but it would also be really cool to actually meet people in person and, actually do life with people. Did everyone just hear what Ryan said? Instant equity. Yeah, thanks, Ian. Thanks for being pumped for me. I'm really pumped. Yeah, and it was a big swing too. I was really hoping that this deal would go through simply because it's not often you could walk into that much equity. And, it's also one of those things that, hey, if the market goes down, some of this equity would dry up. But for right now, It appraised at 1.23, so that's really cool. When dealing with bed bugs, do you use the heat and chemical treatment or just the chemical? So we've done it both ways. I prefer heat because that is, pretty immediate. But this past time that we had a run-in with them after somebody moved out, we could not get that person over there to heat the place up, and I couldn't find anybody else. So we did the chemical thing, and it seems like it worked just fine. But just from like a peace of mind perspective, I really enjoy the heat because it is very fast, very effective. And if your house can stand it, it kills anything that might be alive inside of that house rather than just bed bugs. Yeah, man, I'll put you down. Could you do a video series walking us through a rehab, achievement, and gotchas? I tried that with the Project Firehouse, and I fell off the wagon. Now, granted, I don't think I did the greatest. I think I ran out of steam there because of how many times I failed the inspections. That was very disheartening for me, and I didn't expect to have the project delayed by several months because of inspections. So that was tough. Other than that, it's not like I'm in here. I think that would be a great idea. And I've got a good friend of mine down in Cincinnati who's got, 40 to 60 units, I think. And he's really good and very hands-on on the rehab process and project. But honestly, I think it would be, the rehab process for me is pretty hands-off. I give a lot of leeway to the contractors as far as what materials go in, how they want to finish it, what paint they use. If they ask me questions, I'll answer it and let people know what we generally do elsewhere. But for the most part, I really give the contractors a lot of free rein to make decisions. So, truly my involvement in the rehab is I regularly stop in and check on the contractors to see if they have all of the things that they need, if they have any questions. And other than that, they kind of do everything else. So I don't know how I would document that, but I'll think about it. I guess I could see the value, but it's not like I'm a expert in that area either. I don't know how to do any of the work. I know there's one guy on YouTube that he has rentals. I think he's in the Midwest as well. And he will rehab the entire home himself and just record him doing all the work and then do like a time lapse of it. And I guess that's cool, but I don't know. That's a good question. We'll think through. Has COVID affected cash flow? No. I know it's been more impactful in some areas than others. The only thing that I could kind of sort of halfway come up with about this is that, the area that I'm in has been so depressed for so long that we boiled down to essential only jobs quite some time ago. So, the people that are using this as an excuse were problems beforehand, and they're going to be problems afterwards. This is not the reason that they're struggling, but the fact that they struggle is the reason they're struggling. It hasn't put any new people on our radar. A lot of the people that lost their jobs because of this quickly found other jobs. There are a lot of topics that you could do that about: sourcing, financing, structuring contracts. Yeah, I'm a lot more hands-on on all of those things. I could talk about those till the ends of the earth. As far as like, walking through a property and assessing what needs to be fixed. Man, that would be a really boring video because, I would be walking through a house and I'd be like, man, this kitchen doesn't look good and we need to redo this kitchen. And then I'd find a contractor and say, let's redo this kitchen. And then they would redo that kitchen. I don't talk about like sinks. I don't pick out the floor, the cabinets. I don't really do any of that. I just kind of, what's it called? just put the stamp of approval on ideas that people bring. I mean, if you walked into a house and you said, "Ooh, this bathroom looks rough. I think we need to put a new one in here," then you just tapped out my ability to to assess damages to a home. There's been a lot of things happening with looking for a home. I am hanging in there and trying not to get frustrated. You got this. Yeah, you do. I'm really impressed. I really appreciate your resiliency. At least you showing up here and saying that you've done these things. Obviously, we haven't spoken often offline, but I think that you're putting in a ton of work. So I'm impressed. I think good things are coming your way. Yeah, I rubber stamp a lot of things. There we go. All right. Again, bottom of the comment list. What you guys got? Anything fun? Let me think. Yeah, you're going places. Just a matter of time. And maybe a change of market. I know I kind of picked that to you a little bit before. Can you move? Is you moving a possibility? It was really hard for me to pick up and move from North Carolina to Ohio. But I mean, look at the result of that. It was very difficult. I didn't like it at all. But the cool thing about real estate is there are a lot of different markets, and you can move pretty quickly. All right. Let's see. Let me go through some comments on this YouTube channel. See if I've missed any good questions there. Here's a question. Can you get a home equity loan in your business name? Probably not. You could probably get a line of credit on a rental property in a name. We've done that in a business name. We've done that a couple times. But as far as a home equity loan goes, unless your home was owned in a business, I don't think so. Let's see. No, I didn't until no, I don't. I have yet to file any judgments. I've referred people to collections. Appfolio has like a law firm that they partnered with, or collection firm that they partnered with, and I forwarded a few people over to there. But I haven't done anything past click a few buttons on Appfolio. Thank you. I really appreciate it. Moving is hard. I'm an immigrant. I'm just a few years here, and my kids are very young. That sounds like the best time to move. And it sounds like you just did it once. So I can understand not wanting to do it again. How has the inflated housing prices affected your deals? I'm currently double dutching, trying to get in. I don't know what double dutching means, except maybe for like jump roping. Is that a thing? Did I use that right? I don't think so. Double dutch. I'll stop thinking about it and start answering your first question. Inflated housing prices. They haven't. I mean, I guess they have in the sense of we're currently paying more for properties than we used to. But as far as the numbers and the cash flow, it's not affecting it too much. I think the lowest that we bought a house for was $18,000, and it's rented out for like $700 or $750, and it didn't need any work. So on deals like that, they might be $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 now, but I mean, they still rent out for above the 1%. So we are still able to hit the 2% rule very regularly. We did so on just about all these properties that we just purchased for $800,000. So the past 20, we've done that with. So there's that, which is exciting. And I think there's a long way to go. I think prices can continue to increase a lot in this market before it just doesn't make sense to buy any additional rental properties here. So I would say the impact has been minimal, other than it's made the purchase prices higher. As a first-time home buyer, most folks say buy a rental property first, then a forever home. What are your thoughts? I think the idea of a forever home is kind of overrated. And I think that most first-time home buyers never buy a forever home. I think first-time home buyer and forever home are kind of like the complete opposites of each other. I also don't think that rental properties are for everyone. I don't think I would suggest anyone ever casually own one or two rentals. I think you're just kind of inflicting like a slow bleed on yourself. And if you just have a couple, I think it's always going to be a distraction for whatever your main line of work is. I think if you're going to get into rental properties, you should shoot to get 10 as quickly as possible. Home ownership isn't for everybody, and owning rental properties isn't for everybody. I would encourage people to think about rental properties as starting a business. And if it doesn't excite you, then I wouldn't do it casually. I don't know. Now, the circles that I run in the rooms that I try to be in, the casual property owner is not in there. But I also don't know that I've ever met somebody that just has a couple of rental properties because they moved out of a home and just decide to keep it as a rental rather than sell it. I don't know of any that are doing particularly well or manage their properties as efficiently as they should. Generally, I think these are where the horror stories come from about, waking up at 2 a.m. to handle a toilet or something. We've all heard those things as to why not to get into rental properties. And it's because, they have never thought of themselves as a business. They have never put systems or processes or expectations in place. It's just kind of been I don't really quite feel like selling that house. Let's just rent it out instead. And I don't think you're really setting yourself up for success. But again, long term, like if you're looking at 30 or 40 years, it's not necessarily bad to be a casual landlord because you're still going to get the appreciation, the principal pay down, and the tax benefits. So you still have to be grossly negligent in order to kind of mess up. But from a resources on hand perspective, I think it would just be a slow drain as far as the expenses. And like we talked about earlier, the law of averages not being there. And then also, if it's not a primary focus and you're not looking to improve, the systems and processes, then it's also going to be a distraction from whatever your day job is, your family, and all of that whenever things come up. So I wouldn't suggest that. That makes sense. I respect that. How would you advise someone new to real estate investing with $10,000 to start? I think the biggest thing that you could do. So real estate is really capital intensive. I mean, if you have $10,000, you can get started. You can get as creative as you possibly want to kind of get your foot in the door of real estate investing. You can, negotiate seller financing. Like somebody mentioned earlier, the subject to deals. $10,000 is not enough for some roof repairs. So I think if you are getting started with $10,000, then you should be honest with yourself and realize that you are taking on an immense amount of work. And it is very likely that the property that you purchase, even if it's creatively, might have some repairs that greatly exceed your cash on hand, which is going to put you in an extraordinarily vulnerable position. I think if you only have $10,000, it's a really good, and this, I say this a lot because I believe it, and it always sounds really rude, and I'm not trying to be rude, but like, money makes sense. And I think there's if you only have $10,000, it's prudent to ask yourself, why do you only have $10,000? Now, don't get me wrong, $10,000 is a great sum of money, and it's something to be proud of. But in terms of like handling expenses as they arise on something as expensive as a house, $10,000 doesn't go too far. So you've made it. $10,000 is a lot, but at the same time, and what you're looking at doing, it's not that much. So you kind of have to ask yourself, why do you only have $10,000? And really figure out the answer to that. Now, there are thousands of valid reasons to only have $10,000, but you could likely improve a lot of the variables that are keeping you at $10,000 or less. So can you increase your skill set, your knowledge base, in order to bring in additional income? Can you provide value to your current employer in a way that you aren't currently to increase your income? Are you being frivolous in some of your expenditures? Are you buying things that you don't need? Are you taking trips that you don't necessarily have to go on? Increasing your income, lowering your expenses, and constantly be learning and looking for opportunities to, increase your knowledge base, increase your skill set, and increase the amount of value that you provide to the world. And as you start chipping away at those three things, then your 10,000 is going to turn into 100, you're going to turn into 1,000,000. It's definitely proportionate like that. But generally, when people say, how do I get started with X amount of dollars, it's pretty low. And I think the most prudent, the most immediate, and one of the most free things that you could do is take a hard look inward and figure out in what ways are you bottlenecking or throttling yourself down when it comes to money, and what ways can you improve or add more value. I think those questions and finding the answers to those is a lot more important and the bigger variable to solve for, rather than getting started in real estate investing. Because the more you fix those, the more you take an inward look, the more you make some changes on those three things, money's going to come around, real estate investing is going to get easy, and your net worth is just going to continually go up. That's my favorite answer. I hope that's helpful and not offensive. How do you handle situations with tenants who break rules in their lease? An example would be getting a pet when the lease reads no pets allowed. This is really difficult, and there's a lot of things that are extraordinarily difficult to enforce while also considering the scalability. I've heard a few people here locally that are requiring like documentation for pets, and constantly checking and having maintenance people report to them if they see pets on properties and stuff like that. And the people that I've heard mention these kind of things, they have like 10 to 20 properties, which is a significant amount of properties. But how can you regularly check in when you're talking about a lot more properties than that? So I don't know of any ways that I would be willing to invest the time and looking back into these things. I think it's probably prudent if you have a couple to hold people accountable to what they said in their contract. But to answer your question, we don't have any way that we regularly look at that. And the only thing that I think you could do from a contractual standpoint, if you find out, is immediately assess people the pet fee, the pet deposit, and then when they move out, any damages that animal has done, you would assess that to them as well, which should also be kind of predefined, even loosely, in the lease. I think that's the only thing you could actually do. I guess you could also evict them for violating their lease, but that seems a little much. Yeah, I don't know. I actually just was recently speaking with someone with around 1,000 properties about how they handled this. And, we kind of arrived at the same thing of just like regularly looking to try and call people out on this would be a really large suck of time. So don't get me wrong. I don't want to overlook it, but I also don't know how to. I don't know. It's a good question. One that I ponder when bored. Are you channeling David Ramsey? That was great advice. I don't think so. It's just, I don't know. Who knows? Let's see. What does a typical day look like for Ryan Ingram concerning real estate investing? Only if they provide the chalk. Do you use chalk in this? Let's talk about. I'm gonna look it up later. Don't worry about it. Let's see here. I spend about 2 hours a day driving around the job sites and looking at progress made on the rehabs that we have under renovations. I regularly speak with our guy that does all of our leasing, answer any of his questions. I do my best to get any of the contractors whatever resource they're asking me for as quickly as possible. I spend a decent amount of time in the insurance agency still, and I also do my very best to only work from 8 to 3, and I am gunning for the Husband and Dad of the Year award on a daily basis outside of those time frames. So I try to fit a lot into a little amount of time. And then one of the things that I've started doing that I'm really proud of is I leave my phone on Do Not Disturb all day. And then as I connect with people on the phone, I just do my best to, put all of my attention and effort into that one conversation that I'm having to kind of help forge deep relationships. I like that a lot. So then when I find myself in a deep conversation with someone that shouldn't have a time constraint on it because it's actually a meaningful conversation, I'm not distracted by 1,000 other things that are pulling at my attention. I think that's what I've found, and that's what I'm revisiting. I'm hiring a personal coach at the moment to try to figure out how to be more effective with my time on the management side without sacrificing the ability to kind of go deep with people as needed. So I would like to get a lot more done. I'd like to be a lot more effective, and I would like to not accidentally choke out the life of my business, because unfortunately right now I am the business's biggest bottleneck. So I really need to figure out how to hire things out, how to delegate some things, and how to get out of my own way. So I've been putting in a lot of thought on that. Good question. I like that. I really want to talk about this for like the next 30 minutes. I also really want to know what he meant. Where was that? Yeah, currently double dutching, trying to get in. I'm just gonna go ahead and Google it because curiosity has got me, and you ruined it. A+. I was willing to let it go. Okay, the Double Dutch Championships on YouTube. That's the first thing that comes up. All right, yeah, jumping 2 jump ropes. Speak too fast or unintelligibly, and people might say you are speaking double Dutch. I don't know. I don't know what this means. I'm starting to get some pretty weird stuff. I'm gonna get out of here and go back to the live stream and not worry about this anymore. I'm gonna start getting off this tangent. Let's see. Do you charge a higher rent to tenants? Hey man, you're asking questions still. What does double Dutch mean? I should just ask you. You're still on here. Would you charge a higher rent to tenants that smoke to offset potential increased? No. I mean, this is one of those things. This is similar to the pet thing, right? So, like, if this were to be part of your rules, just like charging people an increased amount of rent for pets, right? Like the $250 security deposit for pets, non-refundable, plus the $25 pet fee, non-refundable monthly. That's the whole reason that people lie about having pets, right? So if you were to do the same thing for smoking, then now all of a sudden you've got a lot of people that are lying to you about smoking, and nobody's paying you extra. So I don't know, and that would be even more difficult to enforce than the pet one. So I think it's definitely worth mentioning smoking in the lease, both on how much it's going to cost if they move out and there's a smoke smell there, any sort of smoke damage, like the film that covers walls on people that smoke a lot in their house. I think you should address that. And then I think you should put somewhere in writing that, smoking isn't allowed. But I don't know, regularly enforcing that, no idea how you'd do it. From all the avenues of your lead gen, which one brings about the most closings? Man, that one would have to be that would still have to be inside of wholesalers and realtors. So that's a great question, Tom. And yeah, but somewhere between wholesalers and realtors. I mean, they're just like, I know you're doing a lot of work with PropStream. I do a lot of work with PropStream, but all the work that I could possibly do as PropStream, I'm probably comparable to a really bad realtor and a distracted, not focused wholesaler, right? So I kind of put myself in that category each time I try and find properties on my own in like PropStream and whatnot. But when you start getting realtors looking out for you, wholesalers looking out for you, well, that's like almost having like a part-time employee that's just working regularly to kind of find good deals that might fit your buying box, so to speak. So other people are very powerful. Networking is really solid, and having people that want to see you get a good deal, it's really powerful too. Good morning. If a tenant breaks the rules as a leasing professional, what I do is give them a lease violation written warning, and if the violation continues, I give them a non-renewal letter. That's very smart. That's a reasonable way to approach going about that. I would agree with that. So that's a really good idea. Trying to get in, but losing bids to more expensed and deeper pocketed investors. That's what double Dutch means. Interesting. Good morning. Thanks so much for this live YouTube session. I wanted to get a progress report on the firehouse. I'm just getting on. I hope you didn't miss. That's okay. I can talk about the firehouse. I owe everybody that watched the first couple of videos, an answer to how that's ended. So it's good. It is now rented out. We rented it for $1,200 per month. So I'm pretty pumped about that. And it turned out really well. So I've got no issues with it. It's probably one of the best deals that we've done. It was an absolute burden getting through the inspection processes. We failed so many times. I think we've maxed out the number of times that we could fail. And, and just doing a bunch of, honest self-assessment, self-critique. I don't see anything that I could have possibly done differently. I'm not one to scream that the system is against me and rigged, but let me tell you, on this one, that's exactly what I'm tempted to scream. One inspector would come out, flag two things. Another inspector would come out right behind them, not even look at those two things and flag another 3 or 4 things. Then the same inspector would come back out because you don't know which inspectors you're going to get. So then like the first inspector would come back out to verify the previous three things that the other person just flagged were done. And he would find additional things. It's like, no, wait a second. The first time you came out, you only found two things. And now I fixed that plus these other three things, and you're still pointing out more things. It was very unruly, very frustrating. And I know that it doesn't necessarily look great for me just to sit here and complain about it, but I've never been more frustrated. I've never felt more helpless, because I even attempted to call in to the inspection office and say, hey, exactly what order do I need to go in and what do I need to do? Everyone I ever talked to gave me a different answer, and everyone followed it up. Well, I've been doing this for X number of years, and this is how I've always done it. It's like, well, that's cool, but that's not what the other person told me. I got this. No shame to you, but hey, we're done now. We're done with that firehouse, and I never want to regularly do inspections with this place again. Yes, they do. I don't know how. Yes, very regularly. Very regularly. I think pocket listings are the appropriate terms for that. And generally, they'll present it to me. And if I buy it, then they'll still list it. And then they'll just kind of immediately mark it as pending. I don't know if that's like permitted. I don't know the rules around that. I really don't know. We've got a good friend in Florida who's a realtor. And he said that Florida is trying to crack down on realtors' ability to do this. But it seems to be very alive and well up here. And that's cool. That's how you handle the pets in your rental properties. Get good, reliable help and let them handle it. Delegate. I like that. Rick. I thought that was Rick James for a second. Rick Imus. Timing the market. Double Dutching means timing the market. Thank you for answering my questions. I've been watching for a while. Thanks for coming on here, man. I really appreciate it. And thanks for throwing us all a curveball about double Dutching and strategically never answering what it really means. So thanks for leaving us all in limbo. All right. Well, we're at 20 people. We're an hour and a half in, just getting heated up. So what you got? Any questions? Any questions? I think we normally peak as far as viewership goes around the second hour. So far we've been up to 20, 21, I think was the highest I've seen it. So thanks everybody. And let's dive in deep. Let's answer some questions. Really quick, if you're on, would you attend a live thing? I know we're all over America, and there are a few people that watch this that are north of the border. So if I held an event in Dayton, would you show up? Would that be something you're interested in? Let me know. I think double Dutching refers to timing entry into the market, waiting until the time is right to buy. I guess that makes sense, because if you're double Dutching, as far as like jump rope goes, you have to kind of stay in between two ropes, right? So you don't want to trip on the bottom, and you don't want to get hit in the head on the top. I don't know. We're getting really abstract here. This is a lot of fun. Oh man. All right. Let's see. Let's see if I missed any comments. We need to do that. I spoke with a hotel yesterday, waiting to hear about a response to go ahead and start booking some things. That pancake breakfast, still very high on my priority list. Man, I'm excited. You're in Utah, though. Are you going to make the trek all the way from Utah back to Ohio for pancakes? Oh. I also have an outdoor griddle now that I've been cooking a lot of pancakes on. Every Sunday night, we do pancakes. Breakfast for dinner on the griddle, weather permitting. It's awesome. Thank you. Yeah, I'm really excited about... I'm really excited that it was able to be completed. When I started, I ran out of steam when I was filming all of the updates on it, just because we kept failing all of these inspections. It was a real momentum killer. So I'm happy that we're at the end of that. There we go. Hi from Russia. Visited my parents and now going back, so I have a lot of time to watch your channel. Hit the like button, guys. Thanks, man. I really appreciate it. There we go. He is right. Trying to find my first deal, 35K at the moment to invest, budget 20 down, 15 rehab. Nice. What market are you in? That sounds like a really reasonable amount to start with. 20 down will get you what, 80 grand? That should be doable. Could you share your biggest challenge that you've had since you've been investing in real estate? The contractors. Contractors are my biggest challenge 100% of the time. Not necessarily that they are doing anything wrong in and of themselves, but a lot of the part that's most out of my control is the amount of time that it takes to turn and the amount of time that it takes to renovate a property. And then, that's probably the most human capital intensive part of the real estate investing process is just, the only to finish a project in a timely manner, really the only thing that you have to do is show up on a consistent basis and be committed to that one job. And I think that's really difficult, whether it's because the contractor accidentally underbid the property, whether it's because they're doing a bunch of other small jobs in between this, the larger one, and they're trying to stack their own schedule. Harvard Business Review actually put out a article written about how difficult it is for contractors to scale their business outside of their own capabilities. And I think to an extent, it's true for most business owners. I think most business owners are their own worst enemy when it comes to growth of their business. But I think contractors have it really rough just because it's so labor intensive and like human capital intensive. You need a specific skill set and you need to be willing and able to show up on a daily basis and just consistently work things out. So my biggest challenge is just being able to grow the portfolio while also retaining enough solid help to quickly turn projects. Because, as soon as you acquire an asset, even if it's vacant, but the market rent is, let's say, $1,000 per month, then every month that is owned but not rented, you're losing $1,000 per month. So the holding costs really add up. So turning things quickly, effectively, it's really important. Get out of here, man. Oh, St. Louis. Gotcha. Okay. I was about to say, you just threw us for the loop with a double Dutch, and now this abbreviation. All right. Oh, man. That's awesome. Look at you, man. I appreciate it. I'm a huge fan of these. Thank you. Now the very difficult question. How are you finding reliable contractors? I'm having a challenge with that. I'm in the Pittsburgh market, very similar to your market. It is. And St. Louis is not too far either. I think you can get some really affordable homes in St. Louis. As far as reliable contractors, I mean, it's always been part of my, kind of daily routine to check in with contractors, figure out what they need from me, if anything at all, and just try to remove the barriers from that. I mean, to a certain extent, the way that I like to onboard contractors, ideally, before I use them for a full rehab, I'll give them some small jobs to complete. And I like to see them see it through from start to finish. And I really have my fingers crossed that there's an issue with their work so that I could see, are they going to come back and just make it right because they're the ones that did it to begin with? Are they going to act like it's a change order? Are they going to act like it's part of something bigger that's out of their control and out of their ability? I mean, you can tell a lot about a person by how they respond to going back out when somebody says that their work isn't right. So I like to see that. And then after that, it's just keeping an open line of communication. To quote that thing earlier, to be unclear is to be unkind. Get as firm as possible on expectations. Which it's not like we give people a hard timeline. We ask people for a timeline, and then we just do our best to make sure that we're still on track for their initial timeline throughout the entire project. So I don't think there's a good way to find reliable contractors other than going through a lot of them and constantly assessing whether the relationship is a good one or not. We went to look at the duplex to purchase, and the down unit reeked of marijuana. Is this a big enough red flag? I don't think so. I think, thanks, man. Yeah, I'll call you right after this, actually. That fell off my radar. My fault. I don't think so. I think everybody smokes marijuana, man. I mean, I don't, and nobody in my, immediate friend circle does. But just from like a societal standpoint, especially with all these places making it legal now, the states that have made it legal, there are now, tons of people in the other states that kind of allow that to make them feel more valid and less illegal and less like a criminal when they're doing it, I suppose. But I don't think just the odor of it is enough to be a red flag, especially when purchasing a property. Yeah, I don't think I would. I don't think I would even consider that a red flag. Don't get me wrong. I don't approve of it. I don't want it to happen in anything that I own, but that's one of these things that's kind of impossible to really do much about. Now, the things that I would worry about is if you smell tons of marijuana, hear loud music, and also have a bunch of people hanging around inside and outside of the unit, and the other residents going around their normal business acting like that is normal. That would be a big red flag. Yeah, that would be a red flag, but just the odor of it wouldn't be. I'm looking forward to speaking with you, man. Keep your phone on. As soon as this thing's over, it's going to be buzzing. It's going to be me. All right, we're at the bottom and we're at 22 people. Man, I feel really cool with 22 people on here. So thank you guys for all the support. I really appreciate it. Looking forward to doing an in-person thing at some point. That'll be very exciting. All right. Oh, also, just to update everybody, the app is almost finished. The app that I'm having built for just calculating returns on rental properties, and of course, there will also be a link to PropStream, because I definitely think that's where it's at. So, but again, it's gonna be a great app. It's going to be a loan calculator. We have the amortization tab on there. So it's going to be like a simple loan calculator, because all of the apps that I use to help me plan out buying rental properties, and also just planning the expenses and the income, seeing how profitable it'll be. There are two things that I do when I'm really on the ball, and when I'm just playing over a lot of scenarios. I like to use like a simple loan calculator, and that's where you put in the total amount, how many years it's going to be amortized, and the interest rates, just to get a feel for the monthly payment. And then when I'm serious about a property and want to make sure that everything I'm thinking is true, then there's also going to be another tab for like actual rental calculator. So there's going to be a loan calculator with an amortization schedule in one tab. And then on the other tab, it's going to be the rental calculation, where you put in the income, how much you put down, the monthly insurance, taxes, all of that. And then it'll tell you the cash flow of the property. And it also has a feature to save everything as well, which is exciting. Then a little about me page. That's it. Really excited about it. So I will let you know as soon as that is available for download. Pretty excited about it. And, you know, I've never been accused of being too creative, but the name of the app is going to be Ingram Rental Calculator. Why not, right? I couldn't think of any other cool name. And, you know, you guys know me as Ryan Ingram because that's my name. All right. Up to 24 people. What kind of questions do we have? Anything good? Have you been itching to get some answers for some real estate questions? Let's see. Well, I guess not. Bottom of the comment section. What you got? We're an hour and 45 minutes in. You guys normally don't tucker out so quickly. Peace for all. Good morning. Welcome back, man. I appreciate you coming back. I feel like you owe an apology from last stream. Sorry, I should not have assumed. No, you don't owe me anything, man. I think what you're talking about is, oh, I see. The BDC area and the demographics of the people that live in each of those. No, man, it's not you. You owe me no apology. Oh, so for you guys that weren't on last week, you know, one of the most common questions that I get, not just for a Peace for All, but just truly from everybody is, and I mean, it's true, you know, misinformation is out there in droves. And I agree that I do not want to own a property in like a war zone. But at the end of the day, the people that live in like the C neighborhoods, B neighborhoods, A neighborhoods, they're really not all that different. They're all going to have their own issues, their own problems. And it's like, you know, anything else in life. You just kind of have to figure out what problems you really want to deal with and then go, you know, dive into that. But the grass is never greener, and there are always going to be some sort of issues somewhere. So thanks for saying that, man, but you have no reason to apologize. Are the costs of rehabbing materials going up in Dayton? I don't think so. I think the lumber is, but I haven't really seen you know, rental budgets really skyrocket because of materials. So, you know, one of the things that I've always kind of like, okay, I guess what I'm saying is I think it's still $5,000 for a kitchen. I think that's a good estimate. I think $3,000 to $3,500 is great for a bathroom. I think reflooring a home is still about $4 a square foot, stuff like that. Thanks. I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it. Man, I am familiar with the Burr method, but that took me a long time to figure out what you're meaning. I remember you talking about this a couple months ago. I'm really happy to hear that that's the way that you went. So just for me, thinking through this, refreshing my memory, you purchased a laundromat. The materials, the machinery were dated, and you were trying to figure out, is it worth the investment to get new machines to get the place fully up and running again? And it sounds like you did that and got it up and running. So that's really exciting. I'm looking forward to hearing the numbers on this. You want to share those? This sounds like a really awesome project. The commercial spot, because I think we also mentioned that the commercial spot that we purchased, it's got 2 apartment units upstairs, but downstairs it used to be a bar. We were playing with the idea of turning it into a laundromat. Ultimately, what we did was turn it into we're going to slowly turn it into a Mexican restaurant, which I'm really excited about. Nice. Yeah, man. So is it a good return on investment? I know you threw out some like speculative, if I invest this, if it's fully operational, it might spit out, another number is what you said. Are your expectations aligning with reality at all? It's on my bucket list, man. A car wash and a laundromat. I would love those things. I'm a little bit scared though, because what's going to happen to quarters? What's going to happen to fiat in general? Who knows? Especially the cashless society, right? Do you have the ability to just have some card readers on the machines as well? 50K purchased, rehab 150, equipment 282, cheap project turned into $500,000 project. Yeah, those numbers are a lot larger than I think what you were saying last time. Man, 282,000 for the equipment. Were you able to get some good financing on that? And let's see here. If anybody else has any questions about real estate investing, go ahead and throw them up. In the meantime, Eric and I are going to have a little bit of a offshoot tangential conversation about this laundromat. That's an open-ended question. We're buying one rental property in Jacksonville, Florida. That's where my brother is. It's one of those high equity deals. It was just, the opportunity arose and it would be silly not to take it. The purchase price is $55,000. It's in Jacksonville. It needs about $20,000 worth of work, and the equity piece comes in at like 130, 140. So you can have similar purchase prices in Dayton, and we're not looking to do too much in Jacksonville, but this is just one where we had a hard time not saying anything about the equity. Okay, that's really cool. Yeah, when I looked into laundromats, it seems like there's a lot of companies out there that are willing to really work with you for the financing of the equipment. So that's solid. And I'm also looking forward to the fact that it takes mobile app payments. There's some car washes around here that, they are crushing it right now, but they're not the old school, like self-service bay ones. They've got like one bay and it's automatic, and then they just wrap the line around the building and you could pay at the little portal thing with card and whatnot, and then you could also just get like one of these RFID stickers to enter the club. Yeah, so I mean the numbers are going to be about the same. The only thing from Jacksonville and our Dayton numbers, but the only thing that's different is just the amount of equity on the back end, because the appraisal is going to come in a lot higher. All right. Let's see, what else do we have? Well, while I'm waiting on some new comments, I'm gonna throw this down here again. I mentioned this earlier, but from the YouTube channel, we started a mastermind group, my brother and I. There are about 16 guys in there at the moment. There's two groups. One meets Tuesday morning, the other Monday afternoon. The original premise of the group was to just for a bunch of guys to get together. It's really important for me that I help about 10 people buy 10 properties over the next 3 years. So just walking through that, talking about real estate investing strategies. And it's also, a mastermind. There's a video that I did on it as well. If you just want to search Seek Wisdom Mastermind on my YouTube channel, where it's like a 30 or 40-minute video. I really wanted to be very clear about exactly what the group's intentions were. And it's really just about accountability, holding each other up, making sure that we're putting an appropriate emphasis on being a phenomenal husband, a phenomenal father, So it is like $300 a month, but it is very much so well worth it. If that interests you at all, check out the video and go to seek-wisdom.com/join and get in a group of like-minded people. The reward program, that's awesome, man. Companies will loan with little down. Yeah. I mean, if you're going to do your laundry in a laundromat with a mobile app payment, it makes tons of sense to get rewarded for it. I think a reward program is a phenomenal idea. Thanks, man. Yeah, thanks for coming on and telling us about your deal. I'm looking for a good group in the Akron area. Well, I'll talk to you here in a few minutes. I think as far as real estate investing goes, just getting into Facebook, finding some Facebook groups would probably be pretty solid. I can only think of one guy that I'd be happy to introduce you to that invests up there. I don't really know too many Akron investors. I know a couple Cleveland investors, but they're all California based. I don't think you're California. What market are you in, Glenda? And is this for a personal home or a rental property? FHA, I assume it's going to be a home for you to live in. And conventional before interest rates go up. I wouldn't buy a home just because interest rates are about to go up. And being at the end of the rope and having offers rejected left and right, I don't think that would be, I don't know. I haven't been in a market this competitive yet, but I would say don't put offers in when like emotions are really big into it either. Be careful. You can make or lose a lot of money on the purchase of a property. So definitely do all your due diligence and really make sure that it's a good deal. And at the end of the day, you know, the numbers will never lie. So if you are having offers rejected and if the house is selling for above asking, then, you know, I wouldn't worry about it. The numbers don't work. You don't want to go out on a limb, and it's really easy for a lot of people to lose money when emotions get involved. I would try to keep those out of there. Broward County, Florida. Yeah. It's a tough market. Florida is. So we just bought one in Jacksonville, but I've been told from that realtor that as soon as properties get listed, they're pending within the hour. So I'm familiar and I definitely feel your pain. Oh man, we are so close to hitting that 10,000 subscriber mark, and I'm pretty sure that once you get 10,000 subscriber, you can have that little like merch shelf where you could sell, you know, t-shirts or coffee mugs with weird things on it. I think Double Dutch might be. It might make the cut. Yeah, be careful. Made it very nice to get moms out of the house and do laundry an hour or two a week. Yeah, that's awesome. I hope there's. Do you offer free Wi-Fi there too? And also, if you did stuff like that, and if you went too nice, do you have problems? Well, you said you had to go, so I won't ask you any more questions. But just curious as to keep unwanted foot traffic out that aren't actually doing laundry. Norton, nice. Yeah. Be easy, Glenda. Don't get yourself into a house that isn't worth it. And, you know, I don't know. I would rather go conventional. I don't necessarily like messing with the government programs if it's not necessary. That's my personal sense. I don't have any real facts to back that opinion up with, though. All right, let's see. Outside of double dutching, anybody else got anything? Learn to double dutch. That'll be the next video series. Don't get in too low and don't get in too high. Who knows? All right. Well, we're at the 2-hour mark, and we're also at the end of the comment line. So I'm going to give it a few more minutes, see if anybody asks any questions. And if not, it seems like we're at a good stopping point. 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. 2 hours is a good time for a live stream. I think the longest was like 2.5 hours, and we just had tons of momentum. I think that was the day that there was like 36 people on, maybe. I am very hopeful that when I get off this live stream, I can drive to a couple of properties and see that the work, in fact, has been finished and we could post them today. That would absolutely make my day. I've got 2 properties that are so close to being finished. It's just a matter of time. All right. Well, I sure do appreciate it, everybody. Next Friday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Standard, hop on this YouTube channel and let's do another live stream Q&A. Until then, keep looking for deals and keep making offers, but not out of emotions, Glenda. Be careful. I really don't want you to lose money or get into a house you only halfway love. All right. I will see you all next week.